All right. Good morning. Early morning crypto talk. Bitcoin Brandon here. Welcome on this Sunday morning. Hope you guys have had a good weekend so far. Go ahead and type in the chat box where you're listening in from. And so we have TC Dixon, Provis Lofties, Mafoose, Bethany Gibbs, Valerie Stanton, Connie from Nebraska. Good morning, everybody. It's Bitcoin Brandon from Los Angeles. Shauna Ross from Charlotte. Bouger from Dallas. I took some time off yesterday. Barely even got out of bed. The only time I did was to do the training. We got storm watch here in California. It was raining and thundering yesterday, and we don't know how to act when that happens in Cali. We stay inside. What's going on, Emma from Nigeria? As a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed financial advisor to be dispensing financial advice. I read the news, give my opinion, share suggestions, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to move into. There's many things, 4 things that I live by in the crypto space to have success. Rule number 1, cryptocation is key. Crypto education is everything. Rule number 2, never invest money you cannot afford to lose. Rule number 3, always get your return on investment back as fast as possible. Rule number 4, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? What are you willing to do to make it happen? Stay focused. Do not get distracted. Now, this is not going to guarantee you success, but it will at least minimize your risk. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most that we can ask for. All right. right, let me go ahead and set up my Bluetooth. I like to strut around while I'm talking. You should be able to see the screen now. We're going to cover two articles today. One has caught my attention, Crypto in Space. Crypto in Space. Now, that's a good one right there. And we're going to talk about an opinion piece, and I'm going to read the opinion piece to see if I actually agree with it. So let me put this link in the box for you. You can follow along or sit back and listen. Crypto in Space. All right. SpaceX co-founder on crypto in outer space. It's like Donald Trump talking about the Space Force. Early days with Elon Musk, Bitcoin stability, and life beyond government. Jim Cantrell, a mechanical engineer, entrepreneur, and the co-founder of SpaceX and Vector Launch, joined the crypto show to talk about his early involvement with Space and Elon Musk and how he got into crypto. And that's one thing. I love hearing stories about how you got into crypto. Everybody's got a story. Cantrell says there's a rapidly growing space economy that's fueled by entrepreneurs rather than governments. He was first introduced to the cryptocurrency through his son, Colin Cantrell, the creator of Nexus Earth, a quantum-resistant blockchain that also powers its native peer-to-peer cryptocurrency Nexus. Jim says he and his team at Vector have incorporated Nexus into their vision of space commerce. Space commerce. We see the march towards space commerce and cryptocurrency to be well aligned in terms of the way it interacts with the global economy and the way it essentially circumvents a lot of the government dominance in these industries. The whole idea is lowering the barriers to entry for people to put commerce in space. Oh, I have no problem with that one. The whole thing about Bitcoin is that there's no barrier of entry. The Vector team is building a galactic sky. A constellation of satellites that will consumerize space by allowing apps to build on a network of satellites. Okay. Jim says the apps can be used for a variety of applications. Blockchain is perfect to tokenize the network. The idea being that if you own some of these tokens, let's call them galactic sky tokens or Nexus tokens, if the case may be, those tokens then, because of the way blockchain works, will allow you to keep track of users' use of the network and therefore greatly simplifying how you charge for network access. I don't know what all that means, but if you got a space token, I want some. I'm getting me some galactic sky tokens. Vector is also part of the Space Chain Alliance, whose mission is to spur the adoption of blockchain for space-based assets. Jim admits that the idea is avant-garde at the moment, and that not everyone will be able to see what lies ahead. He admits he was an early skeptic of Elon Musk dropping out of SpaceX prematurely. You never really know. With SpaceX, a prime example, I walked away after a year. The company is worth $25 billion now, and frankly, I wasn't interested in what he was doing. I didn't think he would succeed. To illustrate the unique benefits of cryptocurrencies and their abilities to operate outside of government, let me stop right there first, because he's going to another topic. Yeah, if there's anything with Bitcoin and space, I want to be involved. I mean, I ain't betting against Elon Musk. And that is the new frontier. Isn't that Star Trek? To illustrate the unique benefits of cryptocurrencies and their abilities to operate outside of government, Cantrell walks through the tortured, insane thought process of the military-industrial complex that won the war, but lost the battle to become a good steward of public funds by bloating budgets and wasting tons of money. We can deploy capital 10 times more efficiently than the government. I agree with that. That's what SpaceX did. They did for $1 billion what NASA didn't achieve with $50 billion, and they did it privately. So what I see happening with crypto is much the same thing. Crypto was a result of people being tired of the government controlling our transfer of value, and there's no inherent reason that I'm aware of why governments have to control your transfer of value. You guys should memorize the first half of that sentence, because whenever you hear a critic running their mouth about it not being regulated and no control, so people aren't going to want it, they miss the entire point. Crypto was a result of people being tired of the government controlling our transfer of value. Memorize that sentence. I'm going to put it on a quote later. I can still give you a precious stone, and you can give me back something else. In barter, hey, Bouger, wasn't we just talking about that? In barter, there's no reason why that has to be regulated. So what crypto does is it really takes the hand of the government and puts it so far at a disadvantage that I think that we, as a society, hopefully, will learn how to outgrow the government's clumsy outreach. Cantrell believes the crypto markets are capable of correcting themselves and that Bitcoin isn't going away. I agree. It reached $19,000 a coin, and it's been very stable in the 59 to 6,900 range for about 6 months. Things do work themselves out. The government doesn't have any place in all of this, is what my bigger point is, just like going out into space. Who knows, maybe crypto will become the currency of the space colonies. Space colonies! How you doing, Mr. Stewart? I like that, space colonies. While cryptos can refigure financial networks and the flow of value, CubeSats on the Nexus blockchain can circumvent data censorship on the internet. These miniature satellites, which are the size of a loaf of bread, what? Hold up. When I'm thinking satellites, I'm thinking of, the ones they put on the top of a rocket and it goes out into space and then release it, like the size of a school bus or something. We're talking about satellites that are the size of a loaf of bread. What's going on, Lashana? Now you really got my interest here. Who says satellites have to be huge? Embedded microelectronics to become extremely robust. Vector is trying to get them into space to prepare for the next stage of human evolution, where central controls lose steam and censorship runs out of gas. Vector. That's a company you might want to invest in. As a disclaimer, I'm not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I'm just saying. They're creating satellites the size of loaf of bread. How many of those things do you think they can pop up out there in space? You really got my attention now. He says, we see a day coming where people that are trying to slow down the spread of knowledge and speech will just hit so many headwinds with these kinds of technologies that you can literally put together for hundreds of thousands of dollars. No longer is it a centralized net. It's a decentralized net, much like crypto, particularly with Galactic Sky and some of these other kinds of technologies. There's no way that central governments can control it. Furthermore, one of the interesting things of space is the world has signed the Outer Space Treaty. What? How'd I miss this? The world has signed the Outer Space Treaty, which limits national sovereignty at 61 miles. which is 100 kilometers. So there's no national sovereignty over assets in space. It's much like the ocean. So there's going to be a day when technology will simply outrun the tyrants. I think that's been the theme all throughout human history. Today, we need it more than ever. Okay, so you know how you got, if you're on the ocean, I forgot how many miles out that a nation can claim it's still their territory. And then you get into international waters where there is no one country trying to stake claim. So in space, there's a national sovereignty, 61 miles above your country. But space is big. What if you put some satellites beyond 100 kilometers? They have no jurisdiction over that. This is interesting. Regarding Elon Musk, Cantrell says his colleague's recent run-in with the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission, which led to Musk stepping down from his post as the chairman of Tesla, is a case of too much Twitter and not enough sleep. Cantrell first met Musk in 2001 when he was consulting for him. He is anything but Machiavellian. He just isn't that kind of guy. He's a dreamer. He's a futurist. He's driven like nobody I've ever known in my life, or I don't think I ever will. Interesting. I'm going to save this article because there's some quotes in here I'm going to pull up and use for later on. And the last one I'm going to cover today, because this is a little bit longer, and this is an opinion piece. And it's an opinion piece on a topic I like. So I want to see if we agree or if I can learn something new from this. Thank you, Mr. Ross. 12 nautical miles out in the ocean. Beyond that, international waters. Same kind of concept in space. All right, cryptocurrency and wealth redistribution. Pay attention to this because I always state that cryptocurrency represents the greatest economic shift in wealth in the history of mankind for the most amount of people. It is wealth redistribution. And not just wealth redistribution, I like to see it more as wealth has changed its course and is now moving on a path that everybody has access to. I really don't like the word redistribution because that means that there's a limited amount of money, and that's not the case. Money is unlimited. The source of money is unlimited. There's enough money out there that every single man, woman, and child on this planet can live a comfortable life without there having to be a wealth redistribution. Just give everybody access. So let's see what this opinion has to say. 2018 has been a harsh period for cryptocurrency prices in general. How do you figure? I mean, if we still pull this back 1 year, cryptocurrency is still worth more than it was last year, not counting November and December. But again, it's just how you look at it. Is the glass half full or half empty? Prices in general have been falling from late January until now with the usual ups and downs. Nevertheless, as prices and technology rarely come hand in hand, during this period, we've seen some conceptual improvements started being implemented, such as Ethereum, sidechains, and Plasma, or Bitcoin's Lightning Network and Superspace. Everybody's talking about space now. Before you dive into this one, I urge you to read its predecessor available here. Well, I'm not doing all that. Where I discuss the role of money in our society. Oh, well, you got my attention. Let me open that up and I may take a quick look at this. Our weird relationship with money. This sounds like something I covered. You know, wow, this is pretty long though. I'll ask you guys. I did not do a crypto talk yesterday at all. In fact, I haven't done one since early morning Friday. Would you like me to read this one and then read the second one, since he thinks that we need to read this one before? This is our weird relationship with money. I could kind of skim through this one. This caught my attention. And I have nothing but time. Yeah, if you guys want to log off, you can. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this one too, because this caught my attention. And I will put the link in the chat box. So get yourself some coffee, sit back and relax. We're going to get some education this morning. Let's learn some new stuff. All right. Let me sit back and relax. Our weird relationship with money. We all use money on a daily basis, but do you really understand how it works? This article is a little bit different from the usual, as I will propose alternative ways of valuing money and looking at the economy as a whole. If you've been following my latest writings, you'll understand my views on cryptocurrency adoption depend a lot on price and the role of technology. Arguably, our own understanding of money will influence how cryptocurrency develops, and that is exactly the subject of our discussion today. I'm definitely interested in reading your comments below. You know, I agree with them, because most people have no understanding of money. There's a series on news.bitcoin.com by Wendy McElroy called The Satoshi Revolution. When we launch in KGX, I'm going to have a special side section, or where I'm going to actually read everything that she's been going in her book. And it's just going to be KGX for KGX members only, because it goes over the history of money, how we got to crypto in the first place, and what the future is going to look like. But most people don't understand. They think that the dollar bill in their hand right now is how it's always been, and it hasn't. My own brother, college graduate, owns his own business, still thought that the dollar was on the US gold standard. And I'm like, it's never been on the gold standard your entire life. He's 40. It's never been on the gold standard in his entire existence. He was born in 1978. Gold standard stopped in 1971. And him being educated doesn't know this. What do you think the rest of the public running around saying cash is king, not knowing that your dollar or $100 bill today is worth 13 cents, 5% of what it was worth 100 years ago? All right, let me continue here before I start going on my own tangent. Now, why are most economists ignoring the role of money in our society? They assume that it is centrally controlled by agents who make decisions on our behalf, like allowing central banks to control interest rates by printing and selling less money to financial institutions. Even worse, today we endow private institutions the power to create currency through debt. So how can we bestow our financial freedom, Bitcoin's freedom, to private agents whose interests rarely align with that of the common man? Today I come bearing a different proposal. What if money could be anything we desire? Okay. Just like the separation of powers between church and state, I feel money should be controlled by no one, much less by a few people who believe they have enough knowledge to make decisions about the cost of things, how much you'll earn, or how much your money will be worth in a few months. I agree with that. I understand the purpose of government-issued currency, but at the same time, I believe we are giving away too much power. And as you guys know, power easily corrupts people. That's true. Especially when we consider the lack of transparency in the banking system. I mean, it seems pretty easy to do whatever you want to do behind these curtains, protected by complex banking laws and extremely powerful lobbies. I would much prefer if all institutions use a transparent ledger like Bitcoin. It would be harder to bend the rules if they did have to answer for certain transactions. I made an infographic. There are 152 fiat currencies that have failed due to hyperinflation. Their average lifespan was 24.6 years, and the median lifespan is 7 years.
82 of these currencies lasted less than a decade, and 15 of them lasted less than a year. You know what that's saying? That basically means that fiat currencies don't work over time. Look at these. They have a life expectancy on them, short life. I can't zoom in on this. I don't know what. Is there a way to zoom in? Nope. But that's an important piece. The average lifespan is 24.6 years. Okay. The dollar as we know it today came in existence in 1971. How many years ago was that? That's over 40 something years, almost 50 years. So the US dollar right now is double this lifespan, but we're $21 trillion in debt. The only thing keeping us afloat is that the rest of the world is using the US dollar as a currency reserve. So if we didn't have that, then the US dollar would collapse. And it would have happened 20 years ago, which makes that lifespan average just about right. See, before 1971, the newest dollar that happened was in the what? The 40s and the 50s, right around World War II. After World War II, there's that lifespan again, 24.6 years. Before that, because that's when everybody had to turn in their gold. Did you know that in America? You had to turn in your gold, and they were giving you paper slips for it. All right, let me continue here. If you still think the problem lies within the model, but not with some of its assumptions, then please consider the case of the oldest fiat currency in existence, the good old British pound, sterling GBP. Did you actually know its original value in silver was about 12 ounces? This is 17 years ago, 1 pound would purchase about 0.75 pounds of silver. How much do you think it's worth today? At current prices, you need around 118 pounds to purchase 12 ounces of silver. Wow. Congratulations. That simply means the oldest fiat currency in existence has lost about 93 to 95% of its original value. The solution, it's up to all of us to stop being naive and truly seeing money for what it is. Wow, I just had an aha moment here. The oldest currency in the world has lost 95% value, and it is 317 years old. So something like Bitcoin and crypto is inevitable. It's the next evolution of money. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not. It doesn't matter if you want it to happen. So here's a pro tip. No, money does not need to be a fiduciary currency in order to properly function as a stable medium of exchange. Having someone, a restricted group of people, deliberately deciding the future of the money supply has been the root cause for most, if not all, recent economic crises. So what is money after all? I'm really enjoying this article. Classical economists define money as a combination of the below properties. 1, a store of value. 2, a unit of measurement. And 3, a means of exchange. All these definitions are, of course, attached to a precondition found in the neoclassical school of economics. This is, money is simply an attribute of the economy and not the economy itself. Is this definition as complete as it could be, or is there something else to money? I'm going to steal from the great David Orwell and use his brilliant definition of money. Money is a way of combining the properties of a number of the properties of an owned thing. Money is our way to attribute value to things in order to exchange with one another or to store value. Without it, it wouldn't be possible to trade globally. Andreas Antonopoulos adds something else, a poetic complement to David's definition. He states that money is nothing but a language. By combining both definitions, we get to a higher level of clarity. Money can be defined then as a way to value to things so that we can communicate and trade among ourselves. Yeah. Just as a famous theorist and physician, Karen Barad, states, existence is not an individual affair. So how could money be? Being part of a network requires money to be accepted by the majority of members, which can be a problem due to our untrustworthiness. The trust problem. Although I believe most financial problems happen due to miscalculated money creation and money supply mismanagement, there is an underlying trust or faith pillar in our concept of money. How can we be sure everyone will see value in every currency? A theme worth discussing, which explains our behavior towards money and understanding of the subject, is how different schools of economics have solved the trust issue for the comfort of modern society. It all started a long time ago in a galaxy not far, far away. Since the Babylonian times, fiduciary or fiat money has been around. The purpose was a little bit different, as this type of money was created with the goal of financing geographic conquest. What history teaches us is that the only incentive authorities and rulers had to reward soldiers came into existence by enforcing a currency within all conquered land. It became possible for kings to quickly finance wars by collecting taxes from conquest and by paying wages to warriors with a centrally minted currency. This form of money allowed kingdoms and empires to boom for one obvious reason. The one who holds the most coin or its minting source and then finds a way to enforce said coin on other people becomes the most powerful. Hence, power equals money. I think we all understand that concept. Instead of spending on precious metals, silver, gold, and ore, by creating another proxy of value on top of said metal, usually by depicting the face of the ruling emperor, king, queen, it became possible to create virtually any desired amount of currency supply in the market. The fiduciary system long-term effects have been observed time after time with the rise and fall of so many world empires, the Babylonian Empire, the Greek Empire, or even the Roman Empire. All are great examples of how unsustainable a fiduciary system can be. The reason being, growth eventually slows down, which leads central authorities to print more currency, causing said money to devalue. I mean, could it be said that the demise, the fall of any empire is inflation? Power equals money, right? So if something happens to the money, you no longer have power. You no longer have a system. You no longer have a country. What could bring the United States down? Because it will never happen by foreign conquest. Canada ain't going to be marching on the United States and take us over. Mexico's not going to be marching on the United States. That will never happen. No foreign entity is going to go across the Atlantic or the Pacific and conquer us. So we can be destroyed from within, like the Roman Empire. If we lose our money, the government loses power. And what I see happen in the United States, you're going to end up seeing an ultimate breakup where the 50 states, you're going to see many little countries within the United States. All right, I'm going way off track on something else. Let's continue here about money. Could a new solution to the trust problem be found deep within the quantum entanglement between money and currency? Albert Einstein wrote that time is relative, meaning we experience time differently or another way, depending on our mass and speed. That's why astronauts age differently from the rest of us. Consider the following. You have $1 million sitting in your bank account. Are you a millionaire? Well, it depends on the unit of measurement, doesn't it? If I transact using fiat, then I will consider you a millionaire. Now, if I transact in cryptocurrency, then your $1 million is only worth a couple hundred Bitcoin. This is the value of money, differs from person to person due to their geographic location, laws, or belief system. To some, Bitcoin is worth nothing because they see no value in using it or holding it. To others, fiat currency will eventually blow up all over our faces, and its only purpose is for purchasing. Even when you're considering the same currency, such as Bitcoin, it holds different values depending on where you are. If you're in India or Venezuela, somewhere where Bitcoin is actually scarce and hard to come by, I'm sure you could sell it for a larger margin than on traditional cryptocurrency exchanges. The price of any good is likely to be more expensive when there is less bit of it, as well as the fewer the people who are selling it illiquid markets, the less you are likely to profit. This value is always relative. We see prices being created due to the fluctuations of demand and supply, but that's hardly what happens. Prices are set due to a variety of reasons, some of which might seem logical. That doesn't mean, of course, prices have a rational or are explained by supply and demand only. In the end, a value can only be dictated by prices, which do not exist until a transaction takes place. Take a house, for example. You may think it costs $500,000. However, if you make a cash bid for $250,000 USD and the owner accepts it, then its price is set at $250,000. Transactions define prices, not supply and demand. Of course, prices are connected to how much money people are willing to pay for certain goods, services, and assets. However, as we are not economically rational and we do not have access to perfect information, it's quite hard to agree with the assumption demand and supply dictate prices and not the other way around. One thing is certain. If transactions define prices and prices are always relative, we could perhaps make the assumption all money has quantum-like behavior. In the sense, transactions can only happen between two or more parties. That is, a value cannot be created in isolation. It needs a plurality of parties, opening the door to the application of quantum mechanics, physics to money. Hope I haven't lost you guys yet. I am soaking all of this in, just reading it. Quantum entanglement. How is money connected? Everything in our fragile world is connected. Call it energy, entropy, destiny, fate. It hardly matters. The point is, like particles are entangled, so is money. In quantum physics, whenever two particles are connected and information registered by one particle will affect its counterparts. So, what are debtors and creditors but economic agents whose money is entangled? By contracting a debt you owe someone a certain amount of money, which states that someone else is entitled to receive that money. Like entangled particles whose fate is dependent on one another, so is a creditor's money dependent on the debtor's money. However, if you think these are just different terms for known events like contracts, defaults, etc., I urge you to reconsider. A contract, for example, is a way to express rights and duties between a set of economic agents. That's not the same as entanglement, as the latter expresses the universal way of connecting things. If it sounds too weird, think of it like this. You can't really measure the state of a certain subatomic particle because the act of measuring it will change its position. Logically, there is a cause-effect between linked particles. When one is affected, so is the other. This thing is going deep. In other terms, while a contract expresses the nature of the relationship between agents, entanglement expresses the connection between their money. If there is a contract between two agents, any money attached to that contract will be affected by the other party's money. For those who think entanglement is a physicist thing, I'll have you know, it was firstly introduced in economic terms by none other than John Maynard Keynes, the father of the Keynesian economics so many of you love. If all money is entangled, how should we measure it? As explained above, fiat currency was introduced as means to expand one's capacity of money creation and to solve the trust problem. It's now time to address the elephant in the room. How is growth perceived and how to measure it? That's why I say about crypto. When you hear critics talking about crypto lost 80% of its value, everybody's losing money, it's a bubble that popped, you're measuring it between December and now. Why don't you measure it since its conception to now? It's still up. Anyways, if fiat money fosters unstoppable growth, having little care of how money is redistributed among all economic participants, there seems to be another misconception about our current financial system, one that is vital. I really do not understand how can growth promote stability if the only way we grow is by uncontrollably printing money to boost the economy. If we base our logic and profit making, we will always get stuck at measuring success by each country's GDPs or the average Joe's utility level for X product consumption, whatever the meaning of utility is. There are, however, other ways to measure the success of each individual agent. For example, the donut economy teaches us how to value the environment instead of calling it an externality, and tries to calculate the impact of pollution in dollar terms, could potentially shift our own wealth creation thinking process. I'll give you an example here. I can't believe I'm understanding this stuff. But you have in the crypto space people that are looking at things short term and people that are looking at it long term. The short term people are trying to make and get rich off of crypto because it's rising in value. The long term people can care less about the current price of Bitcoin because that is not why they're in crypto in the first place. They're not in crypto because they believe that Bitcoin one day is going to be worth $1 million per coin. They're in crypto because they believe that it's going to be the new form and way of money transactions in the future. The uneducated people jump into crypto because they think they can get rich quick by getting in at the beginning and letting the money grow. There's nothing wrong with this. Understand, there's no right or wrong in this. It's just on how you decide to view it, what you value and view the worth of Bitcoin is to you. Somebody that joined crypto in December 2017 when it was $19,000 a coin, and now it's only $6,200, to them, it's not worth very much. But to the Winklevoss twins who spent $11 million, even though they lost 70% of the value, it's still everything to them. All right, let me continue here. Economics usually measures happiness with a mechanical approach. Just as in thermodynamics, we are beings converting energy into work. So logic dictates that the happiest beings are the ones who can spend less energy and create more work. In other words, the less energy you spend and the more work you get done, the happier you are. I can agree with that. Translating work into money, we can argue that the more money you make from each individual unit of energy spent, the happier you are. Depends on how you view unhappy. I mean, you just have more resources. In general, the more money one has, the happier that person is. But measuring economic growth by itself does not correlate to the general population's happiness. The key metric is, of course, how much money does everyone have? A better distribution of wealth key is a fairer society and general happiness. Our target should always be to promote measures that raise the minimum bar and not the maximum. The most important property of money is entanglement, that it dictates the value of a single dollar will not only affect the person receiving it, but the entire group as a whole. As it happens within networks, the more redistributed money is, the more all agents benefit. If I receive more money, I will most likely spend more of it, and so on and so on. That's the whole trickle-down economics type of stuff. The fact more agents have more of it also means the likelihood of said agents spending it with other agents increases. This domino effect is what matters. The more I benefit, the more others benefit as well. An example used by many economists to understand the above concept is the following. When slave trade finally ended, economies boomed because the people who were working the hardest and not being fairly rewarded could finally accumulate wealth. The said wealth was most likely being spent in the same economy due to geographic restrictions. That's why the velocity of money argument, how fast it changes from hand to hand, is brought up so many times when discussing the usefulness of Bitcoin as a means of exchanging value. Of course, as any data scientist would tell you, velocity by itself means nothing. Okay, in layman's terms. It is good for an economy to have people making money. It is like a fight between the wealthy who want to have slave wages out there because they think they're increasing their profit, don't fully understand the cycle of money. If your people are making money, they're going to spend it in the economy. They're going to buy cars. They're going to buy houses. Remember when the state of Texas did a cease and desist order on a company? And the people in the state of Texas that were part of that company were making more money than they ever have in their lives. Now, let me show you this benefit here. These might be people who are making minimum wage, people who might be on Social Security, people who are on welfare, people who need government assistance. They basically are taking from the economy and not able to put into it. They finally have a way, because of crypto, where now they're accumulating wealth. And with that wealth, they're able to pay for their own health insurance. They're able to buy houses. They're able to buy cars. They're able to go grocery shopping. They're able to go shopping for clothes. They're able to invest in real estate. They're able to pay their taxes. That means there's more money in the economy and there's more money in the government coffers because you have more money paying into it and not taking out of it. Shouldn't that just make freaking sense? Shouldn't that be the idea? But it's like they just don't get it. The wealthy want to hoard the money sitting in their own investment accounts that's not circulating in the economy. Anyways, that's a different tangent. Continue here. We need to do an effort to better understand what is happening at the micro level. Otherwise, we might not see what is right in front of our nose. Jimmy Song explains this bottleneck quite well by stating there is little intelligence gathering from simply looking at how much is being spent instead of how is that money being spent. Instead of valuing money due to its velocity, I would argue that the store of value purpose should dictate in the long term people's preferences. Independently of my feelings towards fiat currency, the truth is that it works as a currency because people trust it will be accepted by other peers. See right there, that's the value. The value of anything depends on do other people accept it. This property has become attached to our definition of money, as most consider for an asset to be considered as money, it needs to be accepted by many. Except we cannot really put a number on the many. The fact there are hundreds of different fiat currencies proves that exact point. So far, the line has been drawn geographically and politically. A slightly different approach is to base our assumptions. However, what people need is a way to convert some money into a proxy accepted by many, not to hold the actual currency accepted by others. What proxy may or may not be a fiat currency? Bitcoin, the greatest form of sound money. Before we dive into the last bit, let's recap on why fiat currencies are widely used nowadays. Number one, the role of the state as creator of trust. Central authorities view themselves as rightful heirs to the task of managing monetary policies, exchanges, and financial policies, meaning currencies are enforced on populations by the state. And number two, the proxy effect, as fiat currency can easily be exchanged from one another and is widely accepted as money. Due to the emergence of Bitcoin and its proven resilience to price swings, crashes and manipulation, both properties can and will eventually disappear. If the enforcer of trust is a set of mathematical rules, much like within the HTTP protocol, there is no need for a social enforcement of trust. Why would any government block a currency whose ledger cannot be hacked or altered by any party, while at the same time providing financial freedom through permissionless access and use? As the longtime Bitcoin investor and maximalist Richard Hart puts it, the Bitcoin blockchain is nothing but a giant Excel spreadsheet with some passwords and some fancy fault-tolerant transaction ordering. So I ask, how can anyone block it? The ledger where you store your money becomes the proxy of trust. Oh, that is powerful right there. I never heard it put that way. So when people say, how can I trust Bitcoin? There's no government that backs it. It's not backed by gold. There's no precious metals backing it. The ledger is what you're putting your trust in, because the ledger cannot be hacked. The ledger cannot be changed. The ledger cannot be altered. It's a set of mathematical rules and not human intervention. Wow. I'm glad I read this. I just had an aha moment again. Because there are no geographical borders to the virtual realm, that same currency can be exchanged anywhere in the world, as everyone would speak the same language. It's like music, and math. It doesn't matter what language you speak. That's universal. 2 + 2 is 4, no matter what language. So now something like Bitcoin is one language that everybody speaks. I like that. Can you already see the immense value a true sound money like global currency can bring? Not only to people in developing countries or where hyperinflation is a reality, but to every single one of us. I really hope you do. Can cryptocurrency save the world? The power of interchangeability will only improve commerce and wealth distribution. The more we develop models where network-based agents are continuously rewarded, the more power we're giving everyone. If networks grow exponentially, why can't your wealth do the same? By combining the logic of network-based enterprises with the quantum properties of money, we can hopefully destroy the debt-based system by allowing for new forms of value to be created and exchanged. If a company creates a token with certain utility mechanics, let it be governance, voting, or in-app purchases, and rewards its network of users with company tokens for participating, who's to say we won't value said token as money? Usually the future is built on wrong assumptions. Maybe soon we'll find it is deep within our nature to centralize power, and however mechanisms created, the end result will always be the same: a completely rigged game favoring the few instead of the many. That's how it is right now. I hope that is not the case and we learn from our past mistakes. Don't forget what the yin and yang teach us. There is always a dark side to light and a light side to darkness. Nothing and no one is entirely good or bad. Money is just an extension of ourselves. Our goal is to have more of it. So we think about our own well-being first. However, it is also within our nature to be kind to others, to go out of our way making huge sacrifices for family and friends. Seems to me the economic rational man is a tiny bit more complex than what we thought. The key ingredient missing, in my opinion, is how value is created. Why base our monetary system in fiat currency and not sound money? Why accept policies which destroy value? Why shouldn't we seek a transparent system harder to take advantage of? I'm sure one day I'll be having a conversation on how decentralization created a new monster for our societies. Will a better redistribution of value create new issues? We cannot foresee. But absolutely. But as far for every empire, there is a rebellion. I too believe for every problem, there is a solution. Building a better world starts with changing our perception of how value can be created and redistributed. This article was so powerful that I need time to digest it. So I'm not going to read the other article. The other one is Cryptocurrency and Wealth Redistribution. I'm going to read that tonight. Now, I've got a private presentation I'm doing at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So I will read this afterwards. It will probably be at 10 p.m. Eastern. So I will be doing a late night crypto talk. And this is the only article I'm going to cover. I guess I'll call it part 2 to this. But that's a powerful article here. That's something that I definitely want to save. And it's also a reason why people fall for the same things over and over again, because they don't understand money. They don't get it. So I hope you guys learned something new. I did, as always. That is the point. There's a benefit to being part of our KGX community. You're going to be getting more knowledge and information on crypto, how money works, how you can benefit yourself. And if you want to know how to be part of our community, send me a message. You can find me on Facebook, right here on YouTube. On every video I have, I've got my telephone number and email address, and I will show you how you can get started and plugged in. In less than 2 weeks, I'll be in Philadelphia doing a Bitcoin boot camp. Looking forward to that one. Some of you I'll be able to meet for the first time. And you're going to be, you keep listening to me, by the time you go into there, some of you can stand up and give some crypto talks. So with that, have a great day. I will see you later on tonight, roughly around 10 p.m. Eastern. If my private presentation goes long, then it'll be after that. But I will, because I want to cover this article tonight. Not this one here. Cryptocurrency and Wealth Redistribution. Have a good day, everybody. Bitcoin Brandon out. Bye-bye.